This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, my name is Patrick Gilchrist. I'm the Warning Coordination Meteorologist at the National Weather Service in Glasgow, Montana. This is your drought and climate outlook briefing for Eastern Montana. All information is current as of the 19th of August, 2021. So a quick look back on how we got to where we're at. You can see that since January, this is January through July, that the state of Montana is not doing very well as far as precipitation goes. It's not going to come as a surprise given the serious drought conditions that we're facing, but you can see most counties averaged much below average on their precipitation as far as rankings go, with a few individual counties in the western and central portions of Montana, and then of course in the far northeast corner, still averaging below average precipitation. So again, not a lot of great news as far as precipitation goes so far for the year. Quick look back on temperatures for January through July, and again, above average to much above average temperatures really dominating for the state of Montana. So we have been very much warm and very much dry from January through July. Quick look at where we are as far as August trends go. Departure from normal temperature, you can see that we continue those trends that we have been seeing for much of the year with above normal temperatures. You can see 2 to 4 degrees is very commonplace, even a few bullseyes with 4 to 6 and even a little bit warmer than that across the state of Montana. So again, really continuing those hot conditions into August. And you can see that on the nationwide average, you can see the West Coast again continues to be very much hot. Temperatures, again, very much on the warm side, even some 6 to 8 plus degrees above average temperature wise. And, interestingly enough, the Texas, Oklahoma, even portions of New Mexico, again, being a little bit on the cooler side for the month of August. So while we're hot, they're a little bit cooler. Precipitation wise, you can see that we have seen some improvements. We did see a little bit of monsoonal moisture wrapping under the high pressure ridge and providing some shower and thunderstorm activity for western portions of western Montana and even into central Montana. And again, we've got a recent low pressure system that is currently making its way through the state of Montana that has brought, again, some beneficial, much needed precipitation to portions of west and central Montana so far. So you can see some substantial improvements, and some marked improvements as far as precipitation goes for the month of August in that western and central locations. However, out east, which this briefing is targeting, you can see again very much on the dry side, anywhere from 0 to 25% of normal precipitation being fairly commonplace. So again, so far we're continuing to be in the hole as far as precipitation and deficits go. So a quick look at the snapshot for Glasgow in Billings. You can see again Glasgow very much continuing the trends of flatlining on precipitation, little precipitation events here and there, but keeps putting us more and more in the hole. We're only really at 36% of normal here in Glasgow proper. Billings a little bit better shape, but again, you can see really substantially since May, their precipitation has very much flatlined as well. And that really puts them in the hole as with 62% of normal precipitation, but for the state of Montana as a whole, still very, very dry from east to west. Anywhere you go, it's very dry. So a little bit look at some of our cooperative stations. You can see again northeast Montana, anywhere from Plentywood, which is 70% of normal. They're probably in the best shape as far as anywhere in northeast Montana, all the way down through Glasgow again at 36% of normal, but anywhere from 36 to mid 40% of normal is fairly commonplace across northeast Montana. You can see down into southeast Montana as well, still looking at 40 to 50% of normal being somewhat common. Billings again standing out a little bit higher percentage, but as you get towards central Montana with some of those more recent precip events, you can see they're in a little bit better shape. Great Falls is 89% of normal. Havre at 70% of normal. So again, still in deficit realm, but doing better than some other locations. So look at our drought status. This is the latest drought monitor that was released today. And you can see that nationwide, quite a bit of drought out there, especially in the Great Basin into the state of California, and then of course following northward into eastern Washington, again seeing those exceptional drought conditions. Still some pockets of exceptional drought in the state of Montana, but a lot of areas being dominated by that extreme drought category in the east as well. So quite a bit of drought concerns. Break that down into a little bit closer view of Montana. And you can see that D4 exceptional drought from Fort Peck over towards Malta and then down into Petroleum and Garfield counties, northern portion of Garfield County, seeing those exceptional droughts. And then, of course, in southwest Montana, again, another pocket of exceptional drought, but you can see, and then another area in Prairie and Webo counties, and into Custer and Fallon counties as well with those exceptional droughts. So, I mean, we are certainly getting close to one of those droughts that is definitely going to be remembered for a long period of time, in a historical context. North Dakota, again, in similar shape with a big area of exceptional drought right across the central part of the state. And again, they're being very much dominated by those extreme drought categories as well. Again, I would like to encourage you to report any drought impacts. I know that we're kind of getting towards harvest time, and I know a lot of people are wrapping up harvest. If you can share that information with the folks that make the decisions regarding our drought and pass on those impacts, that would be very much appreciated and is always valued very heavily when making these assertions of what the drought conditions actually are on the ground. So those two links there, very valuable. So please pass on any information you might have, especially any solid numbers that you might have. There is a little bit of reason to feel optimistic, at least in the immediate short term. Now, I know for a lot of folks, this is too little too late, but we actually do have rain in the forecast, a beneficial rain across much of eastern, southeast Montana and southern Montana. Looking for precipitation today into tomorrow. This is the 7-day forecast, but it's really dominated by that immediate short-term precipitation totals. And you can see that widespread half-inch or a little bit better rainfall is in the forecast. So again, there's reason to feel a little bit more optimistic. So really today into tomorrow looks fairly wet, especially we get into this afternoon and overnight tonight looks especially wet. And then when we get into the weekend and into next week, we look cooler and somewhat unsettled. Could be another round of precipitation this weekend. And again, it takes moisture to make moisture. So if we have this water in place, it can be recycled again into shower activity as we get into next week. Now, when we get towards the end of next week, we're going to see temperatures warming up towards normal. Should be the low to mid 80s for much of the area. And again, this is a kind of a unique circumstance because it's really the first feeling of optimism that we've had for a long time as far as actually having a precipitation event to talk about. So let's keep our fingers crossed that maybe we can put a small dent in some of the drought impacts that we've seen. Looking out beyond 7 days, unfortunately, it looks like we're going to return to above normal temperatures being favored for the state of Montana, especially in the western part of the state, and then this big bullseye favoring, again, significant chances for below normal precipitation. So it looks like we got to hopefully get a substantial amount of precipitation because we don't have any help on the horizon. In the 8 to 14 day outlook, it looks continued warm and dry. 3-month drought outlook, unfortunately, looks like we're for the state of Montana and most of the western United States and north central US that the drought is going to persist, that these drought conditions are unfortunately not going to go anywhere, and we're not seeing any substantial relief on the horizon, at least through the end of November. Look at the September, October, November outlooks, which just came out today, and you can see that the state of Montana is a little bit split as far as temperatures go, with the more equal chances across the, say, northern half or third of the state of Montana. So count on maybe closer to normal type temperatures for the fall, and with the southern half of the state seeing more favored towards warmer temperatures. Precipitation wise, again, portions of north central Montana, maybe even nosing into northeast portion and of course the western part of the state, seeing better chances for more normal type precipitation during that fall. But you can see that again, the eastern third or southeastern half of the state of Montana, again, continuing to favor below normal chances for precipitation. So again, unfortunately, really no relief on the horizon for the drought. Things do change a little bit, however, when we get into December, January, and February, and I'd like to talk about this a little bit more, but you can see favoring equal chances on temperatures, which would generally be maybe more normal type temperature readings for the winter months. However, what's interesting is we do start to see some better chances for above normal precipitation nosing in, especially centered over western Montana, northwest Montana, north central Montana. But that's a little bit of a caveat with this. I would say take it cautiously because we do have a La Nina watch in effect. It looks like we are going to trend towards more La Nina conditions as we get into the November timeframe. That's the dotted line here is kind of the mean of all these different forecast models. And with that potential for us to go back to a La Nina, climatologically, we do favor better chances for precipitation. It does tend to be a little bit wetter. However, not all La Ninas end up being wet and cool. Some end up being drier on the dry side. And that was the last La Nina that we saw, is what we actually saw with the more warmer conditions. So take this for what it is. There's a little bit of reason for optimism, but La Nina is definitely not a slam dunk for the state of Montana as far as bringing better chances for precipitation. But certainly it's welcome. At least there's some cautious optimism, I guess, with that change coming from more neutral conditions towards more of a La Nina, that maybe we can finally bring some more substantial precipitation in and bust this drought. But of course, we'll see what happens as we go forward. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Tom Frieders, who's my counterpart in the Billings, Montana office. Visit our web pages, check us out on social media. And again, pass on any impacts that you might have. Those real world ag impacts really do carry a lot of weight as far as the decision-making process for ascertaining the severity of the drought. So thank you, and we'll see you next month.